Hey subscribers and Blade and Soul community. This video was made with the intent to bring attention to NCSoft some of the consequences of their system and how it's affecting player experience. In particular, the ability to have a player or bot queue into looking for a group and AFK inside the dungeon until its completion and be able to bid on items in the end, even though they did not contribute to any of the fights. As a side disclaimer, in the first clip, I'm a level 41 in a quote-unquote 45 dungeon where the system allows players as low as 36 to queue into. It was my first time doing the dungeon, and the players in my party were kind enough to allow me to stay and learn the fight even though I volunteered to remove myself, so hooray for patient players. You guys are awesome. Aside from that, as I'm making this video, I know NCSoft is looking into their dungeons, but I just want to make a checklist of what I and many other players experience and would like to look into possible solutions to remedy the issues at hand. One of the most requested features is to implement vote kicking, which I think is fair. Being unable to kick an AFKer is frustrating, and the only option the game gives us is to block them, which doesn't solve the problem. The flip side of what people are saying is that then organized groups can just kick random pugs. I believe those cases will be much rarer than the current onslaught of AFKers joining Dungeon Group. NCSoft could implement a system where being in combat or when auction for loot has started, players are unable to kick. Ideally, it would also mean that all players who contributed through damaging the boss will only be allowed to bid for loot. That comes to another problem: placement of artificial barriers once a boss fight starts. I'm not 100% sure the exact implementation of the firewalls once a boss fight starts to lock out other players who aren't just as fast as some guy that wants to rush everything down, but my guess would be to prevent groups respawning and running back to the boss, making fights trivial. They could just move the firewalls into the boss rooms, as some boss fights do that already, and when a player goes down, if they choose to revive, they get revived outside. Also, for those that say, well, Finalis, what happens if there's a solo player that decides to ditch his or her group and kill the boss by themselves? Simply, they could just teleport remaining players into the boss room, or add some sort of teleport that can't be reached from dying and reviving. That doesn't even cover the issue of party leaders being able to change loot rules to become master looter during a boss fight, essentially making them steal the entire run from 5 other players. A simple solution to that is to not be able to change loot rules during combat. I'm an avid small group content player, and there are some serious issues with Blade & Soul's party system setup. I want to see Blade & Soul do better for its players, which is why I'm putting in the effort to make this video. It might not be the game that I'll still be playing a few months down the line, but I want to make sure that all the other players won't have to experience what I had to experience. Thank you and have a good one, guys.